Missouri News. I'm your host, Billy Bob Joe, and today we have a wonderful story about a little lad out west at Louisville, Kansas, and his dearest bobcat. Little Stuart had lost his pet after it ran away 2 nights ago and was in search of it day in and day out. Recently, a loyal brother was able to find the bobcat and return him safely to his owner. Today, we are right around Potawatomi Creek, hearing live from the owner of This just in, breaking news from Potawatomi Creek. Extremist abolitionist John Brown and his sons strike the citizens of Potawatomi Creek, massacring and setting fire to the place. Casualties still unknown. We'll be going to an on-site reporter at Potawatomi Creek right now. Hello, Easton Richards. What's the situation?
Hi, Billy Bob Joe. Surrounding areas are still recovering from the fires during the horrendous abolitionist attack from the neighboring town of Lawrence. And now the local police have labeled the homes of innocent anti-abolitionists such as John Doyle as crime scenes. Potawatomi is in chaos, and the attackers of these men are still on the loose. Back to you, Billy.
How horrible. These anti-slavery snollygossers need to be stopped. They've been wreaking havoc and ruining the pure lives of innocent men trying to make a good living in good old Kansas. What can you tell us about these darn abolitionists, Easton?
Well, Billy Bob, abolitionists have been flooding into Kansas since the Kansas-Nebraska Act was implemented 2 years ago in 1854. The second anniversary approaching in less than a week. This tragic, immoral, and cruel massacre is only evidence of how long these puny northerners will go to take away our southern rights. They just mad they don't got nobody to do the work for them. Ah! It's so bad! It's so bad! It's so bad! It's so... Ah!
Give me the mic.
Lord have mercy. Looks like we're getting an exclusive. Easton, give him the mic.
Hello, Southerners. My name is John Brown, and I am the man who killed those inhumane men and served justice. As much as you would like to deny it and save yourselves from the cruelty and harsh labor that you put your slaves through, upholding slavery is a sin. It is an act against God, and you are dehumanizing our fellow people, born on the same American soil as us, because of the color of their skin and the continent that their ancestors came from. They are people, not property, and if you Southerners continue to deny this, then you are hypocrites. You are against the first words of our Declaration of Independence and the word that our Father in heaven has granted us. And because of this, here before God, in the presence of these witnesses from this time, I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery. And that means I will take any violent actions necessary to have those black men and women freed from their shackles.
So that was...
Well, this has been an eventful news report. Glad I was the one there. Anyway, folks, that'll be all for today's segment. Tune in after the commercials for a brief summary of the events at Potawatomi Creek. Billy Bob Joe, out. Hello, Missouri News Watchers. We are back with a discussion on previous events that transpired while our news anchor, Easton Richards, was out in the field after the Potawatomi Creek massacre. Tell us, Easton, how did it feel when the terrorist John Brown came and took the spotlight?
Well, Watchers, as you saw, it was quite the shock. I'm a strong Southerner. Northern abolitionists do not scare me.
It seemed like you fainted.
Yes, well, that was the shock of the situation. I had a darn gun to my head and a threatening sword to my chest.
Well then, let's talk about the past events that have led up to this tragedy, namely the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Back in 1854, Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois wanted to establish a transcontinental railroad that went through Chicago, meaning that it would need to go through, at the time, Nebraska Territory. The Nebraska Territory is above the Missouri Compromise Line, so this would take away from the southern methods of transportation if the railroad only went through non-slave states. To try and appease our genuine southern concerns, the government established the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and according to the documents about the legislation, it declared that popular sovereignty would be the sole detector of the state's position on slavery. This caused the population of Kansas to increase rapidly as people from Missouri and other southern states flooded the territory to encourage a shift towards slavery. In retaliation, the bloody Northerners came with their people too. However, they came armed, ready to strike. We Southerners ain't done nothing wrong.
Exactly. Southerners were bound to head to Kansas anyways, since we follow our manifest destiny out into the western United States. These Northerners played dirty and are trying to manipulate the popular sovereignty established by the Kansas-Nebraska Act, attacking and killing Southern migrators to lower their votes. These Northerners were acting real slick, smuggling weapons into the state through shipments labeled books. Clearly, the Pottawatomie Creek Massacre is a result of the smuggling, showing the ruthlessness of the North. At least we don't go around killing people and threatening their livelihoods.
Speaking of ruined livelihoods, we've already seen how pained the families of the poor victims of John Brown's rampage are. The wife of John Doyle, the man who was murdered by Brown, has expressed that her and the rest of her family are in great grief due to these tragic losses, and that it was completely unjust for them to be attacked, since the Doyle family didn't even own any slaves. Sure, they supported states' rights and slavery, but John Brown was clearly a ruthless killer with no values.
Right you are. Neither Southerners nor Northerners should support the action of this violent menace despite the sectional differences. If they do, then the future of this country is very, very grim.
Speaking of ruining livelihoods,
I turned to Bob Joe. Surrounding areas are still recovering from the fires during the hurricane. Start. It's John Brown! It's John Brown! He's here! It's John...
Okay, then I have to. Should I spit the toothpick out?
sure.
Yeah, spit it out.
Hello, Southerners. My name is John Brown, and I'm the man who killed those inhumane men and served justice. As much as you would like to deny it and save yourselves from the cruelty and harsh labor that you put your slaves